Hello, my name is Brian Canteel. I'm a Colonel, United States Army retired, Adjunct Professor at the University of Cincinnati, Fire Science and Emergency Management Program. Today we're going to be interviewing Captain Ted Sampson, who is in charge of the Hamilton County Fusion Center. This interview is designed to help students understand terrorism for first responders, which is FST 3021. So now I'm going to be basically turning over to Captain Sampson, will provide an overview of the Fusion Center and how it supports first responders. And Captain Sampson, thank you for agreeing to this interview.
Well, thank you, sir. I am Captain Ted Sampson, Hamilton County Sheriff's Office with the Greater Cincinnat Fusion Center, and give you a brief overview of what a Fusion Center is and what our role is. After 9/11, the intelligence community realized that we did not share information well at all, that every three-letter government organization had a little bit of piece of a puzzle, but nobody was there to put the pieces together. So they formed the 9/11 Commission, and as a result of that, one of the recommendations is to form what is known as a Fusion Center. So we are a collection of local, state, federal law enforcement, fire, and private sector partners designed to share, analyze, and disseminate intelligence and information for the purpose of protecting the homeland from all threats, all hazards, primarily terrorism. We here in Cincinnati, we're located up at the EOC, the ROC, Regional Operations Center, on Radcliffe. We're one of 3 fusion centers in the state of Ohio. We're kind of unique that most states only have 1 fusion center. So we have our sister fusion center called the Stack in Columbus, and then we have the Northeast Fusion Center up in Cleveland. Our area covers an 8-county area in southern Ohio, 3 northern Kentucky counties, and 1 in Indiana. We've been in existence for almost 10 years here in Cincinnati. I recently became director in March from Major Hartzler, and it's been an honor and privilege to lead this organization so far. I've been asked what is our role as a Fusion Center to support first responders. That's one of the primary things that we do is provide support. Again, we go back to intelligence, information. We get information from the field, and we do that in a number of ways. From one source is called Intelligence Liaison Officers, ILOs. That means those are law enforcement and fire service personnel that give us information. So they see something, this is the way they say something to us. We are the conduit to different organizations. We're fortunate enough that we have contacts with the FBI, Secret Service, NSA, Homeland Security, HSI, ICE, ATF, and other federal and local law enforcement agencies. So we can get information that's viable for them, and they provide us information that we provide to our ILOs, or Intelligence Liaison Officers. Now, we also put out products, and that is disseminated across the board to our law enforcement and our fire personnel. Now, we're one of those organizations, we consider fire personnel LE. So we don't exclude them from our products as LE sensitive. You are right there in the trenches with law enforcement. You deserve to have the same information as a patrol officer does. So we try to put out the products and try to put out information that's relevant to the job that you're doing. So if there is an attack, say in Paris, and there's something particular about the attack, like a method or a type of equipment that they use, we get that information out to our local partners here because, as we've seen, we have a lot of people that like to copy attacks, copy attack tactics. So if you're aware of it, you can be prepared. And that's one of the biggest things that we promote is being prepared through knowledge. We also try to provide as much training as possible. So we're receptive to what people say. Can you get us training on detecting aggressive behavior in personnel? So identifying individuals that might be an issue. We have training. We can get training in this area so that we can provide that to law enforcement and fire personnel. And it's important for fire personnel that I want to point out. We had a fire personnel embedded with a fusion center, and a lot of fusion centers do. And we would more than happy welcome someone in the fire services in the fusion center. Because again, you're in the trenches with everybody else. You are right there. What we need from the fire service is a response, meaning what do you want to see from the fusion center as far as information? Because we can only provide you what you want. I can't guess, and it'd be wrong to just assume to know what people in the fire service want. So that's one of the things we do with first responders is get that interaction of say, what kind of products do you want? What do you want us to look at that's going to help your job from the Homeland Security perspective? One of the other things that we do, and we're kind of unique here too, is we do critical infrastructure protection, and we do the assessments. Most fusion centers don't. They don't have the personnel or the training to do that. So we have a few staff members that have had the training. They've had enhanced threat and risk assessment training, where we go out to schools, factories, government buildings, and we do these threat and vulnerability assessments. So we assemble a team. We will go out and we will look at the physical structure, and we will also perhaps look at the cyber structure of the facility as well, because cyber is the greatest threat that we're facing right now. And the reason I say that is anybody with a keyboard anywhere in the world can attempt an attack in our infrastructure here. So we offer that as well. So once we have the team, and we include fire service on our team, we go out, we assess the facility, we look at the vulnerabilities, and then we suggest ways to mitigate those threats and vulnerabilities. We can't tell people what to do, but we certainly can recommend certain things to do. Fusion Center is how you measure successes in Fusion Center. There's a number of ways. We deal in metrics just like everybody else. However, it's hard to measure things that don't happen, because if we are successful, then we have provided information or received information or analyzed information that has prevented an attack. So people say, what is your biggest success? I can give you a story of some of the things that you would say, hey, it's a success. I'll give you a little one here. A couple years ago, this is maybe 3-4 years after 9/11, we had a harbor master call and said he had something unusual to report. He had 3 individuals, foreign nationals from Middle East, that wanted to come down and rent a boat during Riverfest, which again, there's nothing criminal, nothing unusual about that. He went on to say that these individuals wanted to pay cash for that, again, which is nothing unusual, but they didn't want any of the crew on board. Well, now that raised the curiosity or the concern of the harbor master. So he asked them why, and he said they didn't give him a specific reason, that they knew how to operate a boat and they didn't want anybody there because they didn't feel that they needed to have a babysitter. Well, obviously, after 9/11, everybody's up on security. So he called us, and we kicked it over to the FBI, and they did a little investigating. And yes, they were 3 individuals from a foreign nation, from the Middle East, that wanted to rent a boat during Riverfest and didn't want the crew on there. But what it turns out is they were 3 students from Ohio State University. And they wanted to take the boat out because they wanted to get drunk and have girls on there, and they wanted to have a good time, and they didn't feel that they would be able to have a good time if there was a crewman or a captain on the boat. So there was nothing nefarious about it. However, you don't know about those situations. You don't know what is going to be an innocuous situation versus pre-attack planning. So that's where the Fusion Center comes in. We are the what if. Something doesn't feel right. And 99% of the time, it's nothing. And we can run that down, we can get that to the people there. Now in the fire service, they are the eyes and ears that can go in these places. Law enforcement pretty much have their hands tied. For us to do searches, we have to have probable cause, and we have to have warrants. People call the fire service because somebody fell down or they needed help, and you go right in the middle, and you have the eyes and ears of what's going on. And we've gotten some great tips from individuals that have been in the fire service, that they have seen the precursors of making methamphetamine because they've been in there for a fire run. That's important to us too. They've seen the drug paraphernalia, they've seen the drug activity. That's been important for us too, because as we know, drugs are tied to cartels. Cartels are money, and they move guns, and the money is used for terrorism. So it's all a big picture there. We do have our set of challenges too. Now, everybody is very concerned about their privacy. You have Apple, they tout how secure their phones are. You have all these programs that you have multiple layers of password protection because nobody wants their information hacked or snooped on. I understand that, and we support that 100%. We are big proponents of privacy. We have stringent privacy directives and laws that govern what we can and can't do. However, we operate on information, and we're at a point now where the information is locked down, where it used to be out in public domain. Now everybody's got everything private. We don't know if there's an attack. We don't know what people are planning unless somebody tells us. And that's one of the biggest problems. So we rely on law enforcement, and we rely on fire service to be those eyes and ears for us, so that if they see something, then maybe there's probable cause for us to look at it and vet it to see if it is a threat or not. And we'll continue to have those issues too. And as I referenced before, we deal in metrics just like everybody else. And if you don't have a terrorist attack, then people say, well, what good are you guys doing here? We don't need you, we're not being attacked anymore, without realizing, without us, without that information that's going on behind the scenes, that flow of information and that contact, and that vetting, the investigation behind the scene, you would have those attacks. So those are a couple of the challenges that we see. So how can you utilize us more? Is communicate with us, become involved in the Fusion Center, come out on those threat assessments with us. We value your opinion. You're the experts in fire safety and life safety, and we rely on that when we do these threat assessments. We also need your expertise when we're doing products. We do products, which are bulletins on bombs. I mean, we have bomb threats all the time and bomb explosions all over the world. That's not our expertise. We can report on it, but we rely on people in the fire services to tell us, okay, what was going on? What happened here? Was it a good device, a hoax device? Was there any kind of tactics, any kind of technique that you saw that we can share with other people, so if they see it, then they have the knowledge on that. Other than that, it's just being a good communicator with the Fusion Center. Again, we're partners together, and we're going to rely on each other to protect the homeland.
Captain Sampson, thank you for your time, and we greatly appreciate the overview you have provided on the Fusion Center and fusion capabilities, and also how it can interact with the fire service.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.